We live in the age of the digital Skinner box, an architecture specifically designed to harvest your anxiety. We were sold the myth of liberation, yet we became the most psychologically tethered generation in history. Why are we so exhausted? Because the modern world compels you to commit 3 radical acts of self-sabotage every single day. The system demands that you constantly beg for validation, chase opportunities that were never aligned, and endlessly explain your existence to people who were never meant to understand it. This frantic, perpetual motion is not productivity. It is a biological malfunction. What you are experiencing is not a character flaw. It is a survival loop rooted deep in your evolutionary past. The ancient fear of ostracization, of being cast out from the tribe, is weaponized by the algorithm. When you beg or chase, your brain registers lack as an acute physical threat, locking you into the cortisol economy. You are exhausting your finite energy, defending a self that is not under attack. But the greatest strategic move you can make in this chaos is to withdraw, to refuse to participate in the noise, to activate the quiet authority of your own being by shifting your nervous system from the scarcity of reaction to the abundance of presence. This is the ultimate self-mastery. True power does not shout. It sits still. It conserves energy. It allows the world to come to it. The liberation you seek is not found in more effort, but in profound restraint. The magnetism of peace is far stronger than the desperation of pursuit. We are fundamentally wired to misunderstand this equation. Look closely at the people you genuinely admire, the leaders, the innovators, the truly sovereign individuals. What do they do differently? They do not beg. They do not chase. They do not explain. They are rooted in a quiet certainty that functions like an energetic anchor point. Their energy speaks long before their mouths open, because silence, when chosen consciously, is not emptiness. It is depth. It is the sound of unquestioned strength. It is the mark of someone who has internalized their worth so thoroughly that they no longer require external witnesses or applause. When you stop begging, you immediately stop giving away your most valuable, finite resource, your power. Here is the key insight from neuroscience: begging and chasing are not character flaws. They are the behavioral expressions of a permanently activated sympathetic nervous system, SNS. The moment your brain perceives lack, whether it's lack of love, lack of money, or lack of time, it processes that absence as an acute physical threat. This threat response immediately triggers the cortisol loop. You are placed in a constant, low-grade state of fight or flight, trying to secure resources. We exhaust our finite energy, frantically chasing a reward like approval, or success that is designed by the modern world to always stay just out of reach, a perpetual digital Skinner box. Chasing, therefore, is the symptom of fear. The fear that opportunity will pass, that love will leave, that the world will forget you. But we must ask, what kind of destiny must be forced to stay? What kind of alignment requires you to run yourself into total exhaustion? The biological answer is clear. Chasing is a massive cognitive tax, a strategic evolutionary waste. To understand why we are so terrified of being misunderstood, we must look to evolutionary psychology. For our ancestors on the savannah, being misunderstood by the tribe, being labeled unpredictable or unreliable, meant ostracization. And ostracization meant a swift, certain death. The intense, deep-seated need to explain yourself is simply the 50,000-year-old mechanism attempting to prevent exile. This ancient fear is weaponized today. Every explanation you offer, every time you try to manage someone else's perception of your motives, you are engaging in a zero-sum game that rapidly drains your vital energy stores. You are handing the key of your internal peace to an external committee, hoping they will vote in your favor. But here is the brutal truth of the human condition. Fulfillment is not found, it is remembered. To choose to never explain is the ultimate act of self-liberation. It is the modern application of Stoic philosophy, focused solely on what you can control: your actions, your integrity, your internal state, and ruthlessly discard the burden of managing external opinion. Your peace is not up for public debate. Let them misunderstand you. Let the world twist your silence, label your calm as arrogance, your independence as coldness. People can only meet you at the level of their own perception. You are not here to dilute your powerful truth, just to shrink yourself into their limited comprehension. When you stop performing, you start living authentically. No explanation is ever enough for someone determined not to understand you. So you conserve your energy. You smile. You stay silent. You retreat to the fortress of stillness. This is where silence becomes your superpower, a strategic refusal to engage in the exhausting war for approval. How do we physically achieve this state of stillness? It's a literal shift in biological control. We must consciously deactivate the fight, flight, freeze mechanism, and activate the parasympathetic nervous system (PNS). The PNS is primarily governed by the vagus nerve, the central highway for calm, safety, and social engagement. The vagus nerve acts as a powerful brake on the noise of the default mode network DMN, that vast, churning machinery in your brain, dedicated to constant internal narrative, rumination, and self-referential thought. Begging and chasing fuel the DMN. Stillness starves it. When the DMN quiets down, you stop chasing thoughts and trying to explain the past, allowing you access to what is called pure presence. This is the state of highest intuition and effortless decision-making. You stop running after life. You allow life to meet you. This is the signature of unquestioned status. The lion does not roar to prove it is king, it simply is. True strength requires no announcement. It moves quietly, confidentially, without seeking validation. The universe listens to the silent heart far more than it listens to the noisy ego. When you align with your stillness, the world is forced to rearrange itself to match your energy. When you stop chasing, you create an energetic vacuum of space for the things that are meant for you to move into. They arrive not through struggle, but with a natural ease. This ease is the indicator of true alignment. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but out of understanding that your peace is sacred. You begin guarding your time, your mind, and your space like a precious resource, recognizing that what you allow is what will continue. The chaos of others no longer pulls you in, because you no longer resonate with it. When you stop begging, chasing, and explaining, your energy becomes pure. You become lighter, freer, almost untouchable. The endless noise of external validation loses its grip on your soul. You breathe slower, deeper, liberated from the expectations that once controlled you. You stop declaring to the universe, consciously or not, that you are missing something. Life is a reflection. If you live from the illusion of scarcity, life will make you chase. But when you live as though nothing is missing, when you embody your inherent wholeness, you attract everything meant for you as a natural response to your sufficiency. This is the final principle of mastery, your ability to remain centered in a world that constantly seeks to pull you away from yourself. Silence, once feared, becomes the fortress of the wise. Let your stillness be your statement. Let your silence do the heavy lifting. True power is not in demanding recognition, but in simply being. We have spent enough time diagnosing the wound. Now we must dissect the mechanism of the affliction itself. In a world defined by acceleration and digital noise, the ancient survival instincts, the need to chase, plead, and justify have been weaponized against our inner peace. This is not just bad habit. It is a system engineered to harvest your most precious resource, your sovereign energy. The 3-No protocol is your strategy for energy conservation. Every time you beg, you leak power. Every time you chase, you accelerate toward burnout. Every time you explain, you cede control. We must understand these behaviors not as moral failings, but as cognitive and biological traps, built on the scaffolding of our evolutionary past, but amplified by the constant, demanding feedback loops of the 21st century. The aim of this phase is to construct the impenetrable armor, a quiet internal structure that shields your truth and dignifies your silence. This armor is forged from the refusal to participate in 3 specific, energy-draining currents of modern life: the beg, the chase, and the explanation. This is the shift from reaction to architecture. Let us begin with the ultimate surrender of power: never beg. Begging is the lowest form of communication. It is a biological confession of perceived lack. When you plead for affection, attention, or validation, your body, your subconscious, and the world perceive it as a declaration: I am incomplete. I am dependent. You are broadcasting scarcity, and the universe will mirror it back. Evolutionary psychology reveals why this instinct is so strong. Our ancestral brain was wired for scarcity. Resources were finite. Love, acceptance, and inclusion within the tribe were literally matters of life and death. The ancient part of your mind still screams, plead for recognition, or face ostracization and death. This mechanism, essential then, is destructive now, but in the abundance of the modern world, this instinct is catastrophic. When you beg, you trigger the cortisol loop, the stress hormone cascade, designed for short-term crises. Begging is the psychological equivalent of constantly running from a predator. It floods your system with stress, confirming to your own biology that you are in perpetual threat, undeserving, and lacking. This makes lack a measurable, hormonal reality. This is the brutal irony: what you seek through begging cannot be transferred from outside in. Validation is not a currency, it is a state of being. You cannot fill a spiritual void with external affirmations. If you believe you are an empty vessel, the universe will only reflect that emptiness by making you continually search for what you feel you lack. You must change your internal state before you change your external reality. The refusal to beg is the conscious choice to operate from an energy of sovereign dignity. Dignity doesn't need to ask. Dignity knows. It is the deep, cellular understanding that your worth is intrinsic. It cannot be granted or revoked by any external source. When you embody this, the need to kneel, anything already beneath your dignity dissolves. Understand the exchange rate: every plea, every request for mercy, every desperate attempt to hold on to something that wants to leave, costs you a piece of your self-respect. You are trading permanent peace for temporary validation. This transaction is always a loss. The wisdom of silence demands you stop giving away the key to your peace. The true magnetic power lies not in reaching out, but in pulling in. The moment you stop reaching, your energy shifts from expansive depletion to focused density. You become a center of gravity. This stillness is your highest declaration of abundance. You declare, I am enough. Therefore, I need nothing from you. The world must then adjust to your declaration. The refusal to beg establishes the most critical boundary of all, the boundary around your inherent worth. You reserve the right to your own dignity. This restraint is not passive, it is an active force field. It communicates power not through force, but through immovable self-assurance. This is the first pillar of the impenetrable armor, the sanctity of self-worth. Energy attracts energy. Desperation repels. Your stillness your self-containment, creates a vacuum in the universe, pulling resources toward you as a natural fulfillment of energy balance. You stop asking to be nourished, and you begin to simply radiate nourishment. The second drain on your sovereign energy is the relentless, exhausting act of chasing. Chasing is the symptom of fear, the fear that if you stand still, you will miss out, the fear that you are inherently behind. This fear has been monetized and glorified by the toxic hustle culture. We are taught that perpetual motion equals progress. The modern narrative demands that you run harder, optimize faster, and force outcomes. Chasing becomes the default setting, turning us into exhausted participants in a race whose finish line is constantly being moved by external algorithms and societal expectations. This is the ultimate form of misalignment. What kind of love, success, or destiny requires you to run yourself into exhaustion just to keep it? The truth, whispered by every ancient philosophy, is that what is genuinely meant for you arrives with a natural ease. Not no effort, but aligned effort. You move with the flow, not against the current. If you must strain to hold it, it was never yours to keep. Chasing is powered by FOMO, the fear of missing out. But mastery requires the cultivation of JOMO, the joy of missing out. When you stop chasing, you stop declaring that fulfillment lies somewhere else in that next promotion, that perfect partner, that future validation. Fulfillment is not found, it is remembered. The crucial distinction is between struggle and flow. When you chase, you fight against reality, creating massive energetic drag. When you rest in alignment, you allow the universal currents to carry you. The universe responds not to your panicked acceleration, but to your vibrational frequency of sufficiency. The moment you stop chasing external goals, the energy returns to you, clearing the fog of anxiety. You reclaim your focus, your time, your strength, and, crucially, your internal compass. The pursuit had blinded you to what was already within reach, the richness of the present moment. When you stop running, you can finally see the abundance surrounding you. To never chase is to become the unmoved stone. You embody stability. Stability is the most irresistible magnetic force in a world addicted to volatility. Opportunities, people, and resources are drawn to stability, not desperation. The person who waits with confidence becomes the center of gravity in every room. When you stop chasing, you grant yourself the sacred right to the pause. The pause is where wisdom resides. It is the moment between stimulus and response, where you transition from being a victim of circumstance to the architect of your destiny. This is the second pillar, the mastery of alignment. We move from effortful striving to effortless becoming. The final, and perhaps most insidious drain on your power, is the compulsion to explain. The need to justify every choice, every silence, every absence, is the ultimate surrender of internal authority. Why do we feel this need? Because explaining is a desperate bid for approval, a tacit admission that your truth requires external validation. This compulsion is rooted in the evolutionary terror of being misunderstood. For our ancestors, misunderstanding by the tribe meant being cast out, which was a death sentence. We are still operating from that primal fear, magnified by the digital arena, where millions can instantaneously judge and ostracize you from their narratives. Furthermore, the brain registers social approval as a reward. The need to explain yourself, to prove you were right, gives you a short-term hit of dopamine, the chemical of seeking and satisfaction. You become addicted to managing others' perceptions, performing constantly for an audience that will never be satisfied. You are essentially offering yourself up for manipulation in exchange for a tiny, fleeting neurochemical reward. When you constantly explain, you are living as a performer, not an authentic being. You dilute your truth to make it palatable. You edit your light to fit into someone else's shadow. This fragmentation of the self leads to chronic exhaustion and misalignment with your core being. You cease to be whole and become a series of curated roles. The liberation is in this realization: your peace is not up for public debate. You are not here to shrink yourself into someone else's comprehension. True power lies in the release of control over what cannot be controlled, the judgment and perception of others. Your freedom is the ability to walk away when your peace is disturbed. The refusal to explain is an act of neurological quietude. It helps silence the DMN, the network responsible for rumination about the past and anxiety about the future. When you stop rehearsing conversations in your head, trying to make others see your perspective, you free up immense cognitive energy. Your mind ceases to be a courtroom and becomes a sanctuary. This is the essence of modern stoicism. Focus only on what you can control: your actions, your choices, your internal response. Other people's opinions are their business, not yours. Your silence becomes your shield, your inner citadel. You choose peace over the temporary satisfaction of being right. Truth does not need a defender. It simply waits. Time has a way of revealing what is real. Lies collapse under their own weight. By choosing silence, you declare, I trust time. I trust life. I trust that what I am will be seen when it must. This trust frees you from the exhausting cycle of trying to manage perception. The silence is not empty. It is a presence multiplied. It is an awareness so strong that it no longer requires defense. Those who live quietly have made peace with themselves. They do not fear being unseen, because they see themselves clearly. This is the third pillar, the sovereignty of liberation. When you cease to beg, chase, and explain, the energy that was once scattered in anxiety and performance returns to you as focused, concentrated power. This conservation is not just psychological, it is a biological reset. You move from the perpetual stress response cortisol / dopamine addiction to the regenerative state of the parasympathetic nervous system. You become selective, grounded, and untouchable. You are ungovernable by others' narratives because you are no longer pulled into emotional exchanges that lead nowhere. Your silence becomes a vacuum that only truth can fill. You stop being a seeker of validation and become a creator of your reality. The still person is not lazy, they are aligned. They do not move out of desperation, they move out of intention. This quiet confidence, this complete self-sufficiency, is the force that draws destiny toward you. We have built the armor. Now, let us discover the flow. This is where solitude ceases to be loneliness and becomes the crucible of power. The world attempts to convince you that your worth is a performance, a constant act of proving. But to embrace silence is to fire the stage manager, to dissolve the audience, and to finally meet the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are. P3 Fractured self. Neurochemically, this stillness is not passive. It is an act of neuroplasticity. When you choose silence over the compulsion to react, you are consciously deactivating the cortisol loop. You are engaging the parasympathetic nervous system, resetting the primal fear response that fuels the need to beg and chase. You are choosing biological peace over inherited anxiety. P1 Neuroscience. When the need for external validation vanishes, the entire architecture of your life shifts. The love you begged for was not absent in the world. It was the love you had not yet given yourself. The validation you chased was merely the echo of your own unacknowledged internal power. We seek the reflection, only to realize we must first become the source. P4 Irresistible attraction. To never beg, never chase, and never explain is the highest expression of inner sovereignty. It is a refusal to operate under the ancient paradigm of scarcity, The primitive evolutionary fear that if you do not run, you will starve. P2. Evolutionary psychology. True power is not loud. It is self-contained. The lion does not need to roar to prove it is king. Its silence is the undisputed confirmation of its status. When you stop chasing, you create a powerful energy field of attraction. You are no longer forcing outcomes that are not yours. You are allowing the current of life to meet you where you stand. The universe responds to alignment, not effort. If you must run yourself into exhaustion to hold on to something, it was never yours in the first place. You are released from the illusion of control. P4. Alignment. And when you refuse to explain, you conserve sacred cognitive resource. The endless task of managing external perception is an evolutionary debt that never pays off. You gain nothing by trying to convince someone determined not to understand you. You are not here to filter your truth to make others comfortable. You are here to build your quiet, undeniable, intentional life. In a world where everyone is shouting to be seen, to be validated, the silence of the self-possessed person is the strongest signal. Silence is the ultimate competitive advantage in the information age. It allows you to observe the chaos, the endless hustle, the manufactured drama, the digital Skinner box of social approval, without being pulled into its current. P3. P4. Modern context. Understand this: the greatest battles you will ever fight are the ones you refuse to enter. You stop fighting the storm and become the calm center of it. The world will always mistake your stillness for weakness, your detachment for indifference. Let them. Your peace is worth more than their temporary approval. This is the final recalibration. Stop demanding respect, embody self-respect. Stop begging for love, become love. Stop chasing success, align with sufficiency. And the supreme pillar: stop reacting. The one who can hold silence when provoked has mastered the highest form of intelligence. When you choose silence, you become ungovernable. You become untouchable. Your energy, pure and concentrated, begins to attract only what resonates with your stillness. You transcend the need for the world to affirm your existence, because you are anchored in your own being. That silence is your shield, your crown, and your ultimate power. P4. Freedom and sovereignty.